Second, it is where people's aspirations, their himmam, are fixed on God. And third, the Sirat-e-Mustaqim is where God is the guide. God is the guide from God to God. His commentary on Ihdina Sirat-al-Mustaqim was as follows, quote, "Make our hearts incline to you, establish our aspirations before you, and be our guide, our dalil, from you to you, in order that we not become cut off from what is yours by you." Another unknown sheikh of Abu Abdurrahman as-Sulami, Qaddasallahu sirrahu, another of his unknown sheikhs, identified the Sirat al-Mustaqim simply as thankfulness, a shukr. Concerning Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim, he stated, quote, "Show us the way of thankfulness so that we can be happy and rejoice in nearness to you, biqurbik." For yet another of Sulami's sheikhs, the Sirat al-Mustaqim consists of the passing away, the fana of human attributes. His commentary on Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim was, quote, "Guide us by means of the passing away, the annihilation of our attributes, bifana'i awsafina. Guide us by the means of the passing away of our attributes on the way to your attributes which have neither ceased nor will they ever cease." And finally, another one of Sulami's sheikhs, Abu Abdurrahman as-Sulami, Qaddasallahu sirrahu, another of his sheikhs considered the Sirat al-Mustaqim to be God's guidance that comes through our experience of His absence. Our guidance that comes through His guidance that comes through our experience of His absence, ghaybubiyah. His comment on Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim was, and I quote, "Guide us on the straight path by divine absence from the path, in order that we not be attached to the path." If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was never absent, it would be very easy to become attached to the path instead of to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he said, "Guide us on the straight path by divine absence from the path, in order that we not be attached to the path." Moving on to Qushayri, for him the straight path Qushayri radiallahu an, the straight path involved leaving behind, the Sirat al-Mustaqim involved leaving behind a few types of negativity. The negativity of one's states, ahwal, the negativity of one's seeking, talab, and one's striving, jahad. Leaving behind one's states, one's seeking, and one's striving, through becoming illuminated by God's sanctity, quds, and generosity, Jude, and through discovering God by means of God. The way Qushayri, Qaddasallahu sirrahu, expressed it, and I quote, "Guide us on the Sirat al-Mustaqim, namely, eliminate from us the darkness of our states, so that we can become illuminated by the lights of your sanctity, and leave behind having been overshadowed by the shadows caused by our seeking, and raise us from the shadow cast by our striving, so that we can gain vision by the stars of your generosity and find you through you. Sheikh Ruzbahan, the author of the Aras al-Bayan, Qaddasallahu sirrahu, Sheikh Ruzbahan has 4 different but interrelated interpretations of the Sirat-e-Mustaqim. First, he says, Sirat-e-Mustaqim is to attain what God desires of us. Specifically, this means that we should be truthful and sincere. Sirat-e-Mustaqim is to attain truthfulness and sincerity. In commenting on Ihtina Sirat-e-Mustaqim, he states, quote, "Guide us to what you desire of us, because the straight path is what God, Al-Haq, desires from His creation, namely truthfulness, sidq, and sincerity, ikhlas." A second interpretation that he gives is that the Sirat-e-Mustaqim is where God is. Thus, Ruzbahan, Qaddasallahu sirrahu, concerning Ihtina Sirat-e-Mustaqim, states, quote, "Guide us to where you are." A third interpretation that he gives is that the Sirat-e-Mustaqim is ma'rifatullah, direct experiential knowledge of God. Commenting on Ihtina Sirat-e-Mustaqim, Ruzbahan states, "Guide us to direct knowledge of you, ma'rifatika, so that we can rest from our practices, mu'amalat, by the fresh breeze of your intimacy, unsika, and by the truths of your beauty, haqa'iqi husnika." His fourth and final commentary on the Sirat-e-Mustaqim that I'll give today is that it is God's I-ness, His ananiya. This is where there is only God's I, only God as the subject, not as our object. Hence, Ruzbahan states, quote, "Guide us to your I-ness, to your ananiya, so that we may acquire your attributes, natasifa bisifatika." Moving into the 15th century Naqshbandi Quran commentary of Kamaluddin Wa'iz Kashifi of Herat, Rahmatullah alayh, he cites the Naqshbandi Sheikh Ubaidullah Ahrar, Qaddasallahu sirrahu, for whom the Sirat-e-Mustaqim was loving God's essence and thereby becoming freed from self, thereby becoming